Wow. Wow.
You know what I should have done?
Yeah. This is when you tell us what you should have done?
I should have put holes in the eyes. Hello, fella. I'm the devil on you.
So can we talk about that horrible photo that you found? So there's this photo that comes up. Yes, that one. So this guy came up to me at San Diego. This guy came up to me at San Diego Comic-Con from the San Diego Reader. And he had an article called "They're Not Really Bootlegs." And he proceeded to clump DKE into this article with all of these people actually selling pirated stuff at San Diego Comic-Con. And there was this great photo of me like shot up like this, with my eyes on the side of my head. And great photo. And then he proceeded to talk about these people selling like bootleg DVDs and how the FBI came and this and this. And then and there's like a photo of me, but the way the page is situated, there's a photo of me right next to him talking about the FBI and like no caption. And I talked to this guy, I'm like, I need you to change this. And like, he wouldn't change it. And then I said, okay, let me talk to your editor. And then the editor wouldn't respond to me. And then finally I said, you're disparaging me. I'm going to sue you. And then he changed it. Enough about me. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Another day in paradise. Thank you very much. What about you?
Yeah. You know, living the dream.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You do what I'm doing. Have a beer.
That would not be a good show.
It's 8:30.
Yeah. Dove was
Saturday night. Come on.
Dove was just drunk throughout this whole show. No, not for me. So when I said that that line on Toy Geeks, I said, Phil Page, he's from the miniature world. And you're like, what? Am I a Smurf?
No, I think it was Scott Cherry said, what, Smurfs?
But
oh, hang on, can I swear?
Sure.
Is it too early for swearing?
Too early where? What time is it there?
Well, it's 8:30 in the evening.
Yes.
But I'm swearing here starts at 10 o'clock in the morning.
So tell us about your background. You started out in gaming miniatures, is that correct?
No, that's what I do full time.
That's what you do full time.
Yeah. Started off doing comics.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I was 18, I've been published on 3 continents. Big fan of French comics. Then went on and did various commercial art jobs. Worked in print, theatre design. And then it was all downhill from there. I always had gaming as a hobby. And the nice thing about monetizing an interest is you get to know the scene a lot better than someone who's just trying to monetize working in something. You like you with the Star Wars stuff. You'll spot a bullshit or a shyster in the first couple of seconds.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So then you can find out who you can work for, who's going to pay, and not rip you off. And this is true of all industries. But because I had such an interest in gaming, and you lot people who both played but also made, that made that a lot easier. It was really easy.
And so what are you actually doing in gaming? Are you creating and casting and painting miniatures, or what is exactly?
No, what I do is I'm a model maker and caster. I do contract casting. Most of my work is business to business, B2B, for other one-man bands. And since COVID kicked in, we haven't been busier. It's been unbelievable.
I'm sure, because everyone's just sitting at home playing games. Yeah,
and all the big companies who normally have got the bulk of the market share, they've had to close because they've got employees, they've got, like properties. and they can't, you know, they just had to totally close down. So then had all these gamers stuck at home, desperate for something to do, and the only people open were all the small people who were working out of, like me. I'm in a loft conversion. Guys have workshops, sheds, garages, and the business just went mad.
Wow. Do you have any? You have any examples of your work near you there that you can show?
Yeah. These are masters. This is a master for like fancy gaming. This is Lizard Men, and it's part of a building that's filled in so you can cast it. But I made all of that. Wow. I made it into a building then.
And what are these, when these are finally sold to the consumer, what are these cast in? Are these resin?
They're cast in resin. And of course, we typically don't do any painting. This is the oddest thing about the bootleg scene, is that you have to paint everything. I'm used to you just knock it out and send it off to them, and the client paints it. The client, the other business paints it, or the end customer paints it? No, the end user. So end something user. Like that. And then there's a roof on the top. And what? I haven't played this like. Man is in the style of Mesoamerican. So you got things like that. Oh, that's awesome. And these fiddles knock out. So that's a window. That's a doorway. I haven't been in the gaming world forever. Like, what scale are most gamers using miniatures in? It'd be 28 mil or kind of heroic 28 mil. So it's getting up to about 32 with scale creep. With Games Workshop are typically leading the way on that. Games Workshop, those are the people who did like White Dwarf and all that kind of stuff. That's right, yeah, and they're now on the stock market and making an absolute fortune for their overpriced, over-exaggerated work. But it's you know, a lot of talent comes out of those studios. A lot. They're based in Nottingham, and in the UK, in the gaming scene, Nottingham is known as the lead belt for how much miniatures business it has. And then you have lots of people who work at Games Workshop, and then they've had enough, and they typically go and start their own business, and they're living in Nottingham, so you've got loads of other companies that have come off the back of Games Workshop, and in my opinion, they're doing better work. I remember in Santa Monica, California, out here, there was a gaming shop that opened up, and you walked into the store, and let's say the store was like, you know, 18 feet wide and 30 feet long, and then the whole store was like, you know, a gaming field. There was like a 3-foot place to walk all the way around the edge. And then the rest of it was like this gaming field, just for like, and all they had on the walls were just all this White Dwarf stuff. This must have been like 15 years ago. It didn't last long here. I think they went away, but I think that Games Workshop's like bigger in the UK, probably, right? I couldn't say. I do know that the US has got a massive gaming scene. And so. Really big. It's the king of the markets, you know. A bit like so. So if you work in 28 millimeter, how did you get your nickname? Because my favorite scale is 6 mil. I see. So that's miniatures that are 6 mil tall each figure. 6 mil is very small. It is. I've dug these out especially. I've got some very dodgy. Yeah, you have to put your glasses on before you bring those out. So small. Okay. All right. So these are some really dodgy Star Wars figures in 6 mil. I hope the camera can pick these up. They're so small the camera can't pick them up. Very possibly. But see if you can see. Let's have a look. Get it right for the camera. Oh my goodness! And so that, see who it is? Yeah, it looks like a Darth Vader and a couple stormtroopers. Yeah. I mean, your finger is bigger than that. And that's that's resin. No, these are typically in pewter. In pewter. So is there still lead in? So hard to get. These were very hard to get because they're totally unlicensed.
And
it's one of those things where I had to email someone under a fake name, and they emailed me out in the front name. It was from another country in Europe, which I've been forbidden to ever mention.
I see.
And then I had to pay a third party on PayPal for to get them in shipped.
Wow.
And when someone sculpting them, the sculpts are, I mean, you can't see on the phone, but the sculpts are stunning. Those are stormtroopers. You look at them; they're really good. And what it was is, it was someone who decided they wanted to game Star Wars in 6mm, sculpted up the figures, made a mold, and just cast that mold until it destroyed. Destroyed the molds, destroyed the masters, and then on the sly sold those miniatures off to anyone who could track them down.
That's crazy.
Visiting it here.
So are they casting in pewter because you can't cast in resin that small, or just a durability issue?
No, you could, and with material technology, again, you could. But most of the technology is based for miniatures and more detailed stuff around spin casting in pewter. So people have already got technology in place.
Doesn't pewter have lead in it?
Well, it's a step away from lead, actually.
But I thought there was lead mixed in it. Like I remember the pewter miniatures that I had as a kid, like had a warning on them that they had lead, and then they got replaced with aluminum later on.
They've started taking that down, and you'd have to eat a lot of them to suffer. I can send you some if you want to try, but why would you?
And so if that's your favorite scale, 6mm, like for those Americans out here, how many millimeters in an inch? 30. So that's like a quarter inch, a little smaller maybe. I don't know. It's really small. So are people actually sculpting that big, or are they doing something and shrinking it down?
Most people are sculpting that size, or historically they have done. But now they move towards doing it digitally and 3D printing as well.
Wow. And so you do this for a living? This is your full-time job, doing gaming stuff in the miniature world.
Yeah.
And then how do you get to making 3 3/4 inch resin toys?
Well, it's all Suck Hour's fault. I discovered about 4 years ago, maybe 5. I discovered the Suck Hour, and then watched each one of those, and then it just got worse and worse.
The rest is history. All right, and then so you said that you.
I mean, the thing is, I don't really do figurative work. I've done stuff that it's kind of like bas relief. This is Mesoamerican. This is Mayan from 28mm, and I do that kind of stuff.
Wow,
that's been painted. That's a feathered. This is just a cast. That's a feathered serpent god, and then in the lizard world, I've done these stelae.
Wow! And so you've sculpted all this, and then you kept.
Yeah, it's all totally from scratch.
Crazy. All right.
I must show you another Star Wars thing because I'm interested. I did this, the Hot Wheels, this whole range of Hot Wheels die-cut Star Wars, the smaller stuff, and I couldn't resist.
Wow.
Doing that.
Add that to scale with your little, and that's 6mm scale.
I measured it up and did the calculations. It's about 2 millimeters out. So that'd do.
That's terrible.
Particularly for like that was a quid. I haven't finished painting this, but I've also got a little. I don't know if you remember Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I've also got a little 2 millimeter figure that's got 2 heads, and that's going to be Zafra Beeblebrox from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and I'm going to set up a sound system on the top and have him DJing. I don't know if you can see that. I don't know. Can you see the Rebel bass? You read that?
Yeah, I can see it. That says rebel base on it. Wow. Oh, I get it.
And then 6mm fill on the other side, just in case you forget. So that, you know, there you go.
But
I
6
also
mil,
do kind of historical stuff.
6mm Phil makes his living at 28 mil.
That's where the money is. That's where the money is. But this makes money. This doesn't lose money. It's just for the manufacturers. It's hard. It's harder to sell. This, look at it. It's tiny compared to a piece. Each one of those planks is separate, and it's all got wood grain on. That's a Viking longhouse or a Anglo-Saxon longhouse. This is one I'm working on at the moment, which is a church. It's St Martin's Church at nearby Canterbury, and this is all scratch built. As you can see, it's very much a work in progress. There's an extension that goes on the back.
Wow. So I assume working that small is kind of like children's shoes. It's like, children's shoes look so overpriced because they actually take the same amount of effort to make as an adult pair. I mean, the material is a little cheaper, but they're usually like a loss leader for these companies because it's like, the shoe that's this big is $90, and the shoe that's this big, it's like there's maybe $1 or $2 less in material, but it's the same amount of work. So smaller is
this
harder.
stuff is really quick. I can power through this because I've done it as a hobby. So I've scratch built all my own terrain. And there's a siege tower that I'm currently working on. Well, this is for an American company as well.
Damn Americans.
Nah, pleasure to work for, to be honest. Even when I was in print, the best company I ever worked for was an American. Very completely different attitude, really. They would say, like, well, because I used to do graphics and typesetting and stuff and publishing, and I was running a small paper for them. It was in paintball, and it was a company from Florida, I think, and he had an office in the UK because that was his European base. And he'd say, "Can you do this?" And I'd go, "Yeah, I can do that." And I'd go off and do it, and he'd go back and show it to him, and he'll go, "That's great. That was nice and quick. Thank you very much. Can you do this now?" Simple. In the UK, someone asks you to do something, you take it back to them, they go, "Yeah, can you make that G a little bit bigger? And that green, I like that green, but not that green." Because they're trying to justify their kind of 50K a year job or whatever. So they have to be seen to be involved with absolutely everything. Management, yeah. So it's appalling.
So you were watching this DKE Con. I'm sorry, you were watching the sucker. Yeah, no.
I was watching the sucker, and then I found various other stuff, and I thought, "Oh, this is incredible." And there's only about 10 people doing stuff, and then I looked into it a bit more. Oh, there's only about 20 people doing stuff, and a bit more. Oh, well, maybe there's 40. There's bloody hundreds.
There are indeed. So then you're watching DKE Con during San Diego.
Yeah.
And you said that you were experiencing this and that you thought that this was a cult.
I did consider the possibility. I watched about 20 hours. And I can understand how tired you were. And then at the weekend, it was like I've been on an all weekend bender. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does bender mean anything there?
Yeah.
Okay. Does it mean a homosexual?
No.
Okay. So it means that, but it also means of going out and getting hammered.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, I felt absolutely exhausted. But everybody was so positive and friendly that I thought it might be the old cult technique known as love bombing, which is where they, we want that guy in, love bomb him, and everyone just floods over there and says, "Oh yeah, I love you." And I thought, this could actually be a cult.
And you thought, therefore, that I was the cult leader.
Oh, obviously. There's no doubt about that, is there?
And then that led us to this.
Yeah, yeah. What are the chances of that? But I also thought, can I get this past him? So I only ever refer to it because it's Deadly Cult with a K, Evangelist, and I thought
Sure.
I'll only ever spell cult with a C, and I hope that he won't suss that it's DKE. And I remember, I mean, the time difference makes a lot of difference, but I remember like 3 days after you'd received them, I woke up and I had 2 messages, and one of them was, "Is this meant to be me?" And then there was another one about 3 hours later saying, "This is me." I thought, I wanted you to be subtle.
Because you
I
sent
could
me
have come in
the
and done Star Wars.
because you sent
No,
the photo and I looked at it and I was like, okay, that's fine. And then it wasn't until I read the back, do you know anyone who's over 15 has a toy or comic collection, knows the difference between an AT-AT and ATST, and it just goes on and on and on. You can also see this whole thing of dangerous cultists, fun and games, tools of indoctrination. And then I get to the line where it says, clad in gray, their charismatic leader, the evangelist, moves unseen, spreading magically enchanted items disguised as toys and comics. Sounds like fun? It's all fun and games until they take your soul. And then once I read that, I was like, oh, I get it. That's me.
and do you like how the main grey on that figure matches your T-shirt perfectly?
It's uncanny.
Yeah.
Your color matching skills are clearly like.
Well, no, I asked Ian to give me a Pantone review.
Oh, I see. He was
Hello,
complicit.
Ian. Hello, Ian, mate. Looking forward to seeing your interview, because the last time you were on as with your partner, you went outside and sucked on a fag, as we say.
Oh man! And then you decided that this would be a good idea.
Oh yeah, I'd do badges with all of them. Got a badge machine, and people love badges, and it's a way of saying, "Hey, look, I've got this neat piece of shit which I can't walk around with to show you, but look, I've got the badge."
Wow.
But the most difficult thing about that toy, because that was Warpo did a Kickstarter for Cthulhu, and I'm a big fan of Cthulhu.
I have those figures; they're great.
And they did a cultist, and I was playing it subtle. So when everybody else went to you and said, "Yeah, oh, I'd like to do a toy for this con," I was kicking back, thinking, "No, I'll just wait. I'll play it cool," which just means I had 2 weeks less than everyone else to get it done.
And so there's this pink thing in my hand. What is that?
Well, it's 2 things. There's a lot of symbology to this. It's obviously Sucklord's toy, but it's also the past or the foundations of history. When I say past, I'm not daring to suggest that Sucklord is past it or gone or anything, because he's still, as far as I'm concerned, the master. And he should, if he come to England now this thing about cheeky, right? Sucklord is a cheeky fucker. But that's okay here. That's fine. That's the kind of thing you expect. Do you not have this thing with your friends? I mean, we have it where like you go to see friends, maybe go to the pub, and you haven't seen them for ages, and the first thing you do when you see each other is not hug each other and give compliments. You start insulting each other. Do you not do that?
Some people do.
Well, we do here, and it's very popular particularly with Australians and Kiwis, New Zealanders. They expect it. You have to start. You can't say hello. The moment they're from Australia, you're meant to start taking the piss. They're going to start taking the piss out of you. And you do 5 minutes of that, and then that's fine. Then you get on with saying, "Oh, I like your shoes." Whereas you might have started by saying, "Where the fuck did you get those shoes?" Do you know what I mean? That's the way we do it. It's endearment.
Fascinating.
Well, you do it. You kind of do it with Sucklord, but it's more of a one-way thing. And let's be honest. You two absolutely adore each other. That's so. No, you do. You do. There's nothing wrong with that.
We enjoy. We certainly, for the purposes of that show, we certainly do. It is an exaggeration of, the conflict that we enjoy, but it's definitely like ratcheted up a notch, for the benefit of the viewer. And it just
it's very entertaining. I enjoy it. If he came to England, it'd very likely be a star. He could take his place in the House of Lords, couldn't he? Because that's the thing. I looked him up in Debrett's. Do you know Debrett's?
No.
Debrett's is a big book over here of all the toffs, the aristocrats, the lords and ladies.
Yeah.
I looked him up and he's not in there. So I'm starting to suspect he's not really a lord. And then I've also heard, I watched in the last one, I watched an interview with Ron English. Yeah. He's not really English.
Wow.
You get in trouble for that. Great descriptions. And this, your setup, your setup with this crawling under the. But do you not have health and safety in the US? Because that's a massive violation. You'd have someone turn up with a clipboard.
Yeah, there are, but not for a small company like this.
And you've got the trip hazard. You say, "Oh, this is for our needs," but that's also a trip hazard. Oh, you're living on the edge.
All right. So tell me about the green thing in the hand there.
Well, that's any toy, but it's also the future, and that's what you're promising us.
I see. So the pink is the past.
Stick with me, kid. I'll make you rich.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I said to you. So then you said there was some hidden symbology in the amulet there.
Yeah, there's some cryptic runes that you could decode.
Oh yeah, right. Can you decode them for us?
No, because that kills the whole point. The whole point is it's subtle. Like you look at that and you just think it's just a shaman in front of a crowd.
I see.
That's all it is. And that's great. If that's what you see, I'm happy with that. But the more you look, the more you see, like with all the faces. I mean, that took so long. Originally, I found these brilliant photos because that's a real cult, the background photo.
Right.
And then I thought, I can put in a couple of faces. And I realised it's either one thing or the other. You've either got to have none, or just about every single face has got to be someone in there. Well, it took me like 3 hours to find all the photos. Wow. And a lot of people are simply not on there because all they post on Instagram is toys. Mm-hmm. And your domestic goddesses Instagram is is beautiful. It's the mother lode for finding photos. And then it took 17 hours to actually Photoshop that.
Wow.
But it's a token of respect. Don't mistake it for anything. It's not a cheap commercial shot. And it's also it's a naive snapshot, but it's a snapshot of both the scene, but also that first econ, the first thing on Zoom.
I see.
Because I think that's quite a breakthrough, isn't it? I mean, most people are sitting home going, "I can't make any money. How can I get any work?" And you've gone off and gone, "Yeah, let's do it like this." It's great.
Yeah, I mean, no complaints here. It's definitely pushed us into doing stuff that we would not have normally done. My goal was never to sell online. My goal actually was never.
You've got to pack this stuff. You've got to post it all.
It's true, but what's funny is my long-term goal was never to sell retail anyway. Like I ran a distribution company. I mean, I sold wholesale. I was never wanted to sell to the end consumer. I never did conventions
Yeah,
for that purpose. And then now,
bricks and
you know,
mortar retail, a nightmare.
yeah, but now I have an online store and I do a convention circuit. Like, if you would have asked me 20 years ago that I would be doing that, like, no. But hey, here I am.
Well, needs must.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Needs must, or you've got to do what you got to do.
True. So we did it, and it happened to work. And but then again, I know a lot of people who started online stores, 20 years ago, and just thought they remember seeing that one commercial where they put the stuff online, and then the stuff started selling, and they saw the numbers going, and that's just not how it worked. People would call, they'd say, "I'm starting an online store." I'm like, "Good for you. How are you going to sell stuff?" They're like, "In my online store." I'm like, "Yeah. How much money are you going to spend to get people to your store?" They're like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Well, no one knows who you are. Like, how is that going to work?" And I saw a lot of online retailers come and go, tragically. But I guess we waited long enough to do it and had enough of a reputation that by the time we started it, it wasn't a chore to get people actually to the store to buy stuff. So
yeah,
we're
the build it and they will come approach won't necessarily work.
not, maybe if you were the first online store ever, and got a lot of free publicity, because, people thought it was a novelty. I mean, it's like when the very first movies came out, Thomas Edison, made a movie of a train going across the screen and people like paid to go see it, or an elephant, just do, people are like, "Oh my God, look, there's a train," it's like, can't get away with that now. So we all get jaded. So what's next for you? Are you going to be a fixture here in the bootleg resin scene, or is this just dabbling on the side, or do you have the bug now? Is this going to happen?
I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, brother.
So let's talk about, do you have your Kickstarter figure anywhere near you?
Yeah, I do. Now this is. I've started changing this. This was my first release, not my first toy, but my first release. I've got stuff to show you. I can show you stuff, and I can talk so you don't have to. This is my first one, which I've been on Kickstarter. Now, I've run Kickstarters for gaming, and they've been okay. And what I typically do is, if I've got any downtime, I'll work on a project that will then, when it comes to completion, it can then go onto a Kickstarter, and that fills any downtime, because sometimes you might be stuck waiting for something that someone wants you to work on, or sometimes there's just not enough work, so you've got like 5 hours on a Tuesday, and then I'll tuck into a independent project that I'm going to sell to the public via Kickstarter. And for gaming, Kickstarter is really good. Not convinced it's so good for this or toys generally, but I thought it was worth a try, because I've done a few successful ones, so you can come on there and see I'm not trying to rip you off. And there
But
are
I
a few
think,
of those.
just to interrupt you for a second, I think Kickstarter is as good as like a website for most people, because I feel like people who start a Kickstarter and don't have an ability to promote or a following, people say like, "Hey, I started a Kickstarter." I'm like, "Okay, what are you going to do?" It's the same story. Like, who are you going to send it to? It's like, do you have thousands of followers that you're going to send to your Kickstarter? But I think gaming is the
Me
exception.
personally,
No, these are people who come to me who want to do Kickstarters. But I think gaming is the exception for Kickstarter. That gaming fans are on Kickstarter, searching Kickstarter for new projects all the time.
oh, absolutely, you're absolutely right. And the other thing is that some people, because gaming is, I thought gaming was quite a niche until I started looking at this. Bootleg toys, which is it's a niche of a niche. The French have probably got a word for it that neither of us can pronounce. But on there are people, because there's so much gaming. There's so many companies, so many forums, Facebook pages, because generally an older crowd, so they're using Facebook a lot. There's so many people who haven't got the time to go through all of those, find out what they want. They just go on Kickstarter. And then if someone's got an entire project, like if you've got like a battle in a box kind of thing, you know, whatever period, then they'll jump at it because they haven't got time to go and look and source. Yeah, I want these buildings from that guy, and I want those rules from him and those figures. But I quite like some of those figures too. They just go to Kickstarter and they'll be offered the entire world. But anyway, what I want to say about these was when I've learned, this is only a run of 50. I've done about 30 of them. And I have learned so much about packaging in doing these because I hate this. I bloody hate that rattle. So what I started doing is, first of all, like the one you had, because you were my #1 backer on Kickstarter. Thank you very much, sir. And they all started off like that. So then I started trying the little adhesive pad holding the figure to the back, and that worked relatively well. But then a couple of people got them, and the figure had shifted in shipping, and it was kind of like, you know, you could see her ass, but you couldn't see her face, and it was stuck up against one side. So I'd change it, and then I saw the first one I saw with the openable blister, actual physically saw rather than just saw people talking about them, was Johnny Norwood, for the love of old toys, and I had one of his They Live Star Wars mashups off of him, and it came with the blister just glued at the top edge, and so you could get into it. And I like that idea, except for I felt it should come with a warning, because obviously when you get a toy in a blister, you expect it to be stuck to the card, and there's a chance that could become an accident. But then I had a Neko Satsu figure off you, and when it came, it had a little Velcro dot at the bottom. So this is what I've started to do. Just put this little Velcro dot, and that holds that down. But what that means is that when you ship it, you can ship it in bubble wrap, because that's a nightmare. That, because I pack these when they're not wrapped in bubble wrap, and I put them in a box, and I can rattle, and then I walk down to the post office, or get to the post office, and I carry it like I'm a bloody butler. Put it down, pay for the postage, and then they pick it up and they just go throw it in a bag, and I think,
right.
So I like this. This is nice.
It has what I'm going to do. It has a lot to do with the size of the figure too, because if the size, because most resin figures with not, you know, larger limbs that are not delicate, you know, if you have this, you know, there is a rattle, but it fills up most of the blister, so it's not a problem. The problem is if you have a figure that is too small, because if this was a store-bought figure, you would have you'd have an inner blister also. You'd have a tray that, you know, kind of cupped the negative image.
I need to get in a vacuum former, one of those little is it form box?
It's a lot of work.
Look, exactly, that's what I found out, and I thought, I don't want to do that.
So the other option is this.
Yeah, the cable tile.
But this is problematic over time. As this shakes, you're going to pull this tighter and tighter, and then the cardboard here is going to start to rip. And eventually you're just going to pull it until you have just this huge one hole. So really, in order to make this work, you need a piece of plastic, little like, it's what Hasbro does. Like when you look at there's, it's like, it's the shape of like a bow tie. When it's small,
or like a capsule shape with a number of holes in it, but it acts as a brake, is what I mean. Like, stops it from moving. Like
this figure is just glued, and Rika uses the double-sided tape because the backs of his figures are flat and it can really adhere well. But every once in a while, one comes loose, and I have to play this game where I'm like, bum 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 bum, and then I have to get it centered, and I take it and I push down on the bubble to get it to adhere, and it works fairly well. You can see like this, like his figures are flat on the back, and so you can. That's something I've been interested in. I've been discussing that with a couple of British toy makers. Did you put glue on the back of this? Yeah, no. So, but this figure like takes up, because the arms are up, Very little rattle. And if we think it's
No, I still don't like it. That'd be my special forces training, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, you had special forces training
really rapid when you're moving around at night, you know. Stealth mode.
I don't even want to go there.
This is the one I've just done.
I saw that one. You had to explain it to me because
Well,
I didn't understand what it meant.
Well, what there was, this is a copy of Prodigy's Firestarter cover artwork.
Ah, okay.
And this is the property developer. Now, property developers, they're vandals in all but name. There was a local property developer who I will not name, who bought up a lot of. I live near coastal towns, and they brought up a lot of amusement arcades, you know, like the Coney Island kind of thing, which here were really suffering because everybody likes a cheap holiday to Spain, where it's always going to be sunny. And so that kind of killed the market for a lot of the coastal towns. So they're quite depressed. And this little bastard used to go around buying up these amusement arcades, which used to go for a song because the owners, who were typically really into the seaside trade, wanted to see them continue. And then they'd mysteriously burst into flames and then have to be knocked down. So there's this nice plot to build something. So this guy, that's a very good, I'll privately send you a photo of him, but he's got a petrol can in one hand, or gas can in one hand, and an insurance policy in the other. And these are all sold locally. These are all surrounded. But this is a sticky printout, which I've done on a laser cut MDF card. And I've done it square, so it looks like a CD or a 12-incher because of the reference to Prodigy. So if you sniff it, it smells of burnt wood.
I see.
And I think that's nice, the smell of smoke infused into the toy. Fucking
wow. Wow.
And then this was my first toy, but I still haven't released it. But I'm going to do it in a very, very small run. And that's the Great Manicorn. These are massive. I deliberately wanted it massive.
This wasn't on. I thought you had these for sale on your site.
No.
No.
These have been ongoing. This was the thing that slowed me down. Like I say, I was watching Suck Hour like 4 or 5 years ago. I thought, yeah, I'll do that, and I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to do the Great Manicorn. This is my mate Dan, who, when he's not putting a pickle Halb helmet on, you know, the helmet with the spike on, and talking in a really awful German accent, likes to dress up as a unicorn, which is great. And I thought the German thing, that's a bit cliche, you know, Englishmen and Germans. I haven't got time for that. That's so 1940s. So I've collected a number of photos of him, totally without his knowledge. And there's a little sticker with Chinese, which that means something. Something to read there. And a bit of stuff like this. And then, yeah, knocking that out there, but only a bit tiny edition. I love the pink. That's him all over. That suits him. He's the guy that the hashtag just gay enough was made for. I mean, he's married, but he is just gay enough. That'd be my next release.
So this is someone else whose likeness you've taken without their permission and made a toy.
Yeah, well, and this bastard, but he's dead, which is a great shame. We all miss him.
I see it.
Yeah,
I see a theme here.
What, identity theft? I just need the PIN numbers now, mate, and I'm sorry.
All right, dude.
No, well, I mean, the other thing I got it off the back of the Greta. I got a commission, which has come back for repair because this is one for a couple, I haven't got the artwork to show you because that got buggered. But it came back for a repair. I repaired it for free from commission. And it's my mate Wobbly Steve. Now, he's got a reputation of wearing really bad shirts, which is why he's got a really bad shirt. But it's, I don't know if you can see that. It's glow in the dark.
Wow.
So not only, so that's 2 ugly shirts for the price of 1.
Wow.
And then his gorgeous missus, who's just gorgeous. And that was a nice commission. I got another commission off the back. It's still work in progress. And that's just one of one. And I've got a few other ideas. I've got various stuff. Since I got the letter from your legal department about if I wanted to continue as a bootleg artist, I had to start some Star Wars toys.
I see.
And so, yeah, all right then.
It's good to hear. Alrighty, sir. Unfortunately, we're out of time. I really appreciate you taking the time.
How long have we been talking?
53 minutes.
Oh, blood. Sorry, mate. I can show that. Look, how nice is that?
Look at that.
Look, I put this guy on the thing.
Thank you very much. Can't tell you how happy that makes me.
On the Evangelist, I'm sorry, you're just not, I adore you, but you're just not butch enough. Which is why I had to butch you up and give you the Californian tan.
I see. Thank you.
No, I absolutely do. I mean, that's a compliment, isn't it? You would not make a very good supervillain.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
I think
a great supervillain.
I have to think about that one. I don't.
All right.
Not sure I know what that means.
Let's see if you can see the other symbols in the toy. I mean, you've got nothing to do over the weekend.
I'll work on it.
Have a beer and you know, get your toy on.
All right, Phil. It has been a pleasure. Thank you very much. Appreciate you taking the time.
Everyone, may your gods walk with you.
If anyone out there needs a Deadly Cult Evangelist, you can go to the website.
You don't need a Deadly Cult Evangelist, mate.
They're available now. It's an edition of 25.
Just don't have to go as far as like Heaven's Gate or Jim Jones.
And don't forget, you get a free, as he says, a badge. I think we call them buttons over here.
Or pins, I think.
A pin, badge, a button, whatever. All right, dude. Thank you again. We'll
Have
talk
a great
to you
weekend, brother. See you later. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you very much.
Oh, shit. That was amazing.